Welcome inside Reynolds Coliseum, where we are in week 3 of NCAA Women's Gymnastics. You are at the home of the NC State Wolfpack in Raleigh, North Carolina, as they take on ACC foe, the Clemson Tigers. There's going to be a lot of great gymnastics this afternoon. I'm Rachel Garland alongside Sydney Sneed, and let's talk just a little bit about some of the changes that we have, particularly with this national qualifying score.
Yeah, these NQS changes are going to make it really tough because every routine counts, every score is going to count, so consistency is key. There's going to be a lot less room for error this year. Absolutely,
and speaking of some of those changes, Clemson bringing in 2 brand new head coaches.
Yeah, Justin Howell and Elizabeth Crandall Howell were named co-head coaches last May after spending the last 13 seasons at Cal. So everyone's really excited to see what they're going to bring to the team this year. You can see they have 16 returners, 4 newcomers, one of those being Ella Cesario, the transfer from Cal. So they actually brought her with them over here. But so far, so good with a hot start for them. They scored a 196-5-5 versus Alabama last weekend.
And NC State, some of the changes, they graduated 6, but they've got a lot of returners and a lot of consistency, particularly with their head coach, Kim Landris, in her 8th season. You see their 7 straight NCAA appearances for the Wolfpack team. And 2 of those returners, Ashley Knight and Sanaya Thomas, Sanaya actually being named ACC Specialist of the Week after their season opener at Auburn, where they earned a season best, or a career best opening score in program history. That 196.075 was the highest that they have ever started their season. Again, that matters now because it will play into their NQS as this season continues. We are about to get started. NC State is going to rotate in Olympic order, so they're going to start on the vault, move to uneven bars, balance beam, and they get to finish on the floor exercise, high energy, high amplitude. Clemson is going to rotate on the off rotations. They're going to start on the uneven bars and then move over to vault, and then they'll flop. They'll go to floor and end on balance beam. You can see the lineups there on the right-hand scoring tower. So Lauren Wright is going to get started for NC State. Lily Lippiett is going to head off Clemson on the first rotation. And then, Sydney, tell us a little bit. So they've got 6 gymnasts, but how is the score actually created in NCAA gymnastics?
Yeah, so you have your 6 gymnasts in the lineup. Obviously, the 5 scores count on vault and bars, beam and floor. That you all want to start from a 10.0. We won't see all 10.0s on vault, which we'll point out as the broadcast goes on. But you'll be able to see each score as each athlete goes. So starting off right now, you can see Lauren Wright with the 9.85 last weekend, getting ready for her Yurchenko fall. Really nice body position in the air. What a great start for the Wolfpack.
Absolutely, and like you said, looking at 10.0 start values, that vault actually starts from a 9.95. So she cannot get a 10.
Right, which again, those half attempts do add up as the meet goes on. So something to take a note of. But taking another look right here, you can see a nice height, nice body position throughout the full right there. So again, a really strong start for them.
Absolutely, just that tiny scooch on the landing, moving right over to the uneven bars. Let's see, Lily Lippiett, her average from last year above a 9.8.
I like how she was able to get that handstand on top of the bar. She does that blind fall, a little bit shaky there, but is able to pull it out with her double top stick. Another strong start for Clemson as well.
Definitely looking at those leadoff spots to set the momentum, set the pace for the rest of the lineup. And 6 scores, they're going to be able to drop 1, so that little hesitation on top of the bar, that might be the score that they are looking to drop moving forward.
Like you mentioned, your first athlete in the lineup is that most consistent spot. You know they're going to hit, they're going to have a clean routine, and they're able to kind of build that momentum throughout.
next for the Wolfpack.
Another Yurchenko fall for them. Leans with the stick. That's something also to keep in mind. Those sticks are so important, not only for the score, but just as season goes on, that's what you're looking for. So really nice to see so early on in the season.
Another look here. Good look at this landing.
She's perfectly straight from the table to her landing. She's in between those lines, perfect distance from the table, so really nice.
And like you said, on those 995 start values, that stick is so important. But sometimes that clean vault, even though it starts from a lower score, can sometimes outscore the 1.5s and the 10.0s just purely based on execution. This is Hannah Clark on the uneven bars.
She starts with a nice pike Jaeger. Goes immediately down to the low bar for her bail. Her arms are a little bent, so that'll be a deduction when she caught the bar. But ends with a double layout and a stick there as well. We're seeing a lot of sticks so far. Really impressive.
Hannah, a bars and beams specialist, went 9.85 last week against Alabama.
Being really picky, there was a little bit of piking as she released into that double layout, but she quickly was able to lengthen her body position throughout.
Autumn Reardon, one of the freshmen for this Wolfpack team. You can see last week a 9.725 on her vault in the season opener at Auburn.
Looks like she might have just gotten her steps mixed up a little bit. We've seen that happen every once in a while. This is a great opportunity for her to recollect herself, shake it off, and gear up for her vault. Now, because she didn't touch the table or the springboard or any equipment, she is allowed to go back and restart with no penalty or deduction. But again, this is a mental mind game right here to kind of mess up a bit and have to go back and redo it. So we'll see right here. She does that front handspring, front pike with the half twist. Had a slight hop backwards, but nice job, like I mentioned, being able to recollect herself.
And you can just see one of the things that we talked to their head coach, Kim Landers, about in our pre-meet call with her was the changes that freshmen have to experience, and this is one of those. Those nerves are real. They've got to figure out collegiate gymnastics because it is so different from club gymnastics that they're used to. Emma Maluski on bars for the Clemson Tigers from Germany.
So far, so good on this routine. You saw her do that shapash to start out, then that blindfold into the double tuck, slight hop backwards, but nice build up as they're going through their lineup. I've liked what I've seen so far. That attention to detail. Again, it's an away meet. We can see here again for this dismount. She sets it up so nicely, releases at just the right time. Just held on a little bit too long.
Gets the stick. She'll get a slight deduction for that chest movement at the end there, but overall, in her debut, a fantastic start for Emma Maluski. Back over to the vault, Ava Myers. Looks like the judges are just making sure that they can see everything properly. They've got to look down the vault runway to make sure that they can see the gymnast. And when you've got 20 gymnasts all in the same leotard, they need to make sure that they're looking at the right person.
There's a lot more that goes into these competitions than people see.
You see their score for Emma, that 9.675. to that. Autumn ended up with a 9.75 there on her vault. You can see those scores adding up in the scoring tower on the right with the totals down at the bottom. Again, one of those will be dropped.
A little bit of a waiting game here.
Definitely. This would be equivalent to like icing the kicker in football.
Great comparison. Absolutely.
So we are ready to go. So Ava Myers again, the sophomore out of Cedar Grove, New Jersey.
She does another Yurchenko full. One thing I really like is how they're spotting their landings. They may not get a stick, but they know where they're at in the air, able to break out, and then again, looking for that landing. So notice here, she approaches the table, has a nice push off, lays out, and she's looking at that landing. She just had too much power, but really nice ball. I have a feeling we're going to see some sticks from her this year.
She had a ton of height on that as well. So height and distance, two things that the judges are big on for vault specifically, as we jump right back over to the uneven bars. Eve Jackson. Eve, one of the seniors on this team.
She starts out with that straddle Jaeger. It almost looks like she caught from her fingertips, so really nice job adjusting. She's able to go straight into that bail, and now for the dismount. Another stick. We saw her stick this in warm-up, so really happy for her there. That was a nice routine.
So stick after stick. They say sticks are contagious in gymnastics, and Clemson is proving that correct.
You can see from this angle here, she does that full out, drops right into it, doesn't even move.
Next to the ball for the Wolfpack, please welcome
Sanaya Thomas, last week you see there on vault with that 9.85. Again, ACC Specialist of the Week. And we will see her on 3 events today.
And distance. Wow, she was so far back from the mat. That's really nice to see. Again, that just shows you how powerful of an athlete she is. We need to take another look. Look at just the height, but the distance. Wow, that was a pretty big hop back, so that is going to be a deduction. But again, a lot of potential for this vault.
So NC State giving up just a little bit on those landings, but a half a tenth on each one that's a make it or break it in the team totals overall. So we'll get back over to the uneven bars. This is the graduate transfer, Ella Cesario.
She's such a beautiful gymnast to watch. Her lines, her forms throughout, just so dynamic. She does that straddle Jaeger down to the bail. Really clean routine so far. Can she get a stick on this double layout? Wow. Beautiful ball routine there.
And she knows that was a good one.
I pointed it out in the beginning, but just taking a look at her form and her lines throughout her gymnastics, you can see right here from the side angle just how beautiful. She's on top of the bar. There were minimal deductions there. I think this is going to be a good score for them.
And Clemson scores just keep building. You see right now they are counting 3 9/8 and above. As we take a look at Ashley Knight, this vault is going to be big.
One of my favorites to watch because, again, another athlete that has so much power. She just explodes off of the table and has not quite a stick, but a tiny hop back. Again, we're going to see a lot of high scores from her this season.
She nailed that last week in their meet against Auburn, went 9.925. This one, you see that hop back, not going to be quite as high, but what a gorgeous vault.
So much fun to watch.
Next on the bars for Clemson,
So NC State putting up some really strong scores. They are going to count that 9.75 from Autumn Reardon, but neck and neck between these two teams. As we move back over to bars, Quinn Cool, another bar and beam specialist for this team.
And she's just been a standout, not only as an athlete, but as a leader on this Clemson team. Everyone we've talked to just has such great things to say about Quinn. And another nice double layout stick to end that bar lineup in bar routine. We'll see here. Huge release. She catches it with her arms a little bit bent there, so that's going to be a deduction. But then makes it up with this beautiful double layout dismount.
Just absolutely nails that. So both teams 6 for 6, and you can see there on the scoring tower that the 9/8 and above is really where both of these want to be. Emerson Fisk in the exhibition spot for this Wolfpack team, getting some really good experience.
She does a Yurchenko full as well. A solid vault for them. Again, these exhibitions are just great to have. People going in and out of the lineups. It's a long season, so you need to be prepared.
We've talked about prior to the broadcast, 13 meets is really tough on the body week after week as far as what these teams are doing. And so you never know when you might need that. And both teams actually have a good amount of depth on all events. This is Dakota Berry in the exhibition spot for Clemson.
A nice shaposh as her release move. I really like how she's swinging on bars right now. She just looks very calm, very relaxed. Beautiful handstand right there. And ends with a double layout. Nice routine for Clemson.
So a great first rotation overall. Both teams starting off to a strong start. And we are going to come back in just a few minutes. NC State is going to move to the uneven bars. Clemson will move to the vault. Don't go anywhere.
Gandhi, and I'm a gymnast here at NC State. This summer, I was interning at NASA Ames Research Center in San Jose, California, and I was working on developing a code to predict outwash and downwash. So that is when a helicopter takes off, it blows air down. So the air starts by blowing down, and then we have a region called the stagnation region where the airflow redirects and starts going outwards radially. So first day was amazing.
Come with me to my first day of my internship. In the morning, we had about 2 hours of rules, and then we got our bikes. That's to get around the base, and you have to wear a helmet because safety. Here's a little OOTD. Then we got our desks, and I did some studying. We have a test on Friday. Here's my nails, no acrylics because I want to look professional. And then at the end, we kind of messed around with Nerf guns. Overall, a great orientation.
It was so cool to see all the facilities. They have the largest wind tunnel, and then the site I was at used to be a big military base, so it was just cool to see all the history. I have been a STEM girl ever since I can remember. When I was in 7th grade, I took algebra. In 8th grade, I took geometry. I remember me and maybe 2 or 3 other girls would have to walk to the high school to take a high school class. So I've just always excelled in math and science, and I'm very lucky. My father is also an aerospace engineer, so it seemed right to follow in his footsteps. I am so grateful that I was able to go. I remember when I first got this opportunity, I was a little stressed out with how training was gonna work and living by myself, being away from my friends and my parents. Kim, Phil, and Bob all did a really great job helping me out. Bob recommended some gyms nearby, and we sorted that out.
Happy Tuesday! I headed into the office around 8 and was there till about 4. Then I went on a little run and did some stretches. I did some handstands and some leap drills. Then I took a shower. Here's me flexing, making sure I didn't lose my muscles. Then I had to take a math test. It was brutal, but I did okay.
I'm really grateful. The mentors at NASA were amazing. My mentor mentioned that gymnasts make really good astronauts because they're used to being upside down, and something about the pressure in your head. I like that I was given the opportunity to see how an office environment operates and present myself professionally every day. Being a student athlete, we represent NC State, and I want to make sure that I am always presenting myself the best way I can.
Welcome back inside Reynolds Coliseum, where NC State is taking on the Clemson Tigers. We've got co-head coach Justin Howell, as Clemson has a slight margin over the Wolfpack. There is a 1/10 difference currently. You see there, fun fact, 2016 Jamaican Olympic Coach of the Year. How fun to get that under your belt. And then co-head coach Liz Crandall Howell as well. 7-time USA national team member. She has a ton of accolades under her belt as well. So again, one rotation in the books. It has been a very tight battle early between NC State and Clemson. We've still got a lot of gymnastics to come as Clemson gets ready for the vault rotation. NC State on the uneven bars.
We got a little wave there at the camera.
Always fun for the gymnasts to see where the cameras are at, knowing that they're on air. Completely different when I did gymnastics. None of this existed. So after rotation number one, Clemson has that 110 lead, and it really came down to the one vault for NC State that just had some air and landing issues. Madison Minner in the leadoff spot with a 10-0 start value.
She did that 1.5 in a tuck shape. So again, it's still that 1.5 twist. You have that blind landing that I always like to point out, which makes it more difficult. But you can see here a nice block, and she's able to break out and spot her landing. So a strong start for them.
And one thing different we'll see about the Clemson vault team is the majority of their vaults do start from a 10.0, whereas NC State only had, I think, 2 vaults that started from that 10.0.
Which obviously does give them that advantage. That's what you want to see in these high-pressure meets, are those 10-0 starts.
Ava Myers into the leadoff spot for the Wolfpack.
Really nice job with the shaposh straight into the bail. She was a bit short on her first handstand, but does a blind full double tuck. Tiny shift back off the feet, but a strong start for the Wolfpack as well.
And again, little details, but with so many meets counting in this season, so we saw stick after stick after stick from Clemson on the uneven bars. Ava Myers taking a very, very small scooch, but we also know that Clemson's total vault score is going to start higher than NC State. So the 1/10 lead could extend after this rotation just based on some of those very small little details. Clark in the second spot. You see that vault average 9.8.
This is another powerful athlete. She does a soup vault. Very unique vault. That's a difficult vault as well. You can see the distance that she has. It just, again, shows how much power she has as an athlete. We'll see it later on floor exercise. But take a look how she does that turn onto the vault, then does the full. She does have a pike down. That's going to be a deduction. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more block and height off of the table. But again, she makes up for that with the distance that she gets.
Absolutely. So a strong start to 10.0 start value so far for the Tigers. Jenna Rusk on the uneven bars for NC State.
The judges are looking for that handstand to be on top of the bar or within that 10-degree margin. And those releases, good execution throughout. We'll see a front giant into that blind half, double tuck, a clean routine. I think she would have liked to have stuck that dismount. Obviously, there were a couple of things here and there, but again, it's a solid routine for the Wolfpack there.
Absolutely. Another look at the dismount here. You see pulls it just a little too far, ends up having to take that step backwards. Again, with the scoring tower on the right, so we've got two even 9.725s. We'll see what Jenna's score comes in at. But Madison Minner's score, that 9.775, gives Clemson a little bit of an edge so far in rotation number 2. Maggie Holman up in the 3rd spot for the Tigers. Her vault average so far this season, 9.775.
You can see, again, that front handspring, front pike half vault. She had to take a step, so that'll be a deduction there. But overall, a really nice vault. We'll take another look. Notice the block she gets right here, is able to set herself up nicely. But that step will be a little bit bigger of a deduction.
So Clemson struggling a little bit on the landings as well on the vault. As we take a look at Maddie Reed for the Wolfpack. Opened last week with a huge 9.875, one of the bar specialists for this Wolfpack team.
See that nice chapache there. I like how flowy she is throughout. You can tell she's very comfortable swinging. Getting ready for this dismount here. Really nice height. Is able to drop it in. Not quite a stick, especially with these new rules of having to hold it.
Definitely would have been a stick. The old college stick is what we called that. But now there are definitely more parameters put around how long they have to hold that final position, which she does not do, probably a half-tenth or so.
I did like the height she got as she released from the bar. The judges like to see that height as you're flipping and you're twisting, so really good job there.
Take a look at Eve Jackson.
Just couldn't quite get enough power on that 1.5. I kind of saw it a little bit as she was approaching the hurdle into the round off onto the table. So we'll take a look. You can see right there, she just loses power a bit. She almost hits the yellow around the springboard, which just cuts off that power. It kind of throws off your timing. So again, it is a beautiful vault when she is able to land it. But unfortunately, just couldn't today.
Absolutely. Looked like she got some good height, but the rotation was definitely lacking from that perspective. Again, 6 up, 5 counts. So this will be the score that Clemson wants to drop, but that does put a little bit of pressure on Ella and Tara in those final 2 places. Back over to the uneven bars. Our first look at Ellie Hadrick for the
She does a really nice straddle Jaeger down to that bail. Notice how clean she's been throughout with her handstands on top of the bar. Her feet together, just has the dismount left, and she ends it with a stick. I really liked watching that bar routine. Just looked effortless for her. She flowed throughout. Had clean execution. The judges love to see the clean execution. It's not all about the difficulty, but you can see here from this side angle, beautiful Jaeger, and has enough power to swing into that bail. And then again, beautiful dismount and form throughout.
Absolutely. Feet glued together. The Wolfpack really needed that one. Looking to best her prior score and catch the Wolfpack back up to this Tiger team. Ella Cesario now on the vault.
Yurchenko fall here. Nice, clean. Doesn't get the stick, but tiny shift of the feet back. That's going to get them back on track from following, like you mentioned, a mistake. But she's exactly who I would want to be in that spot following a fall. So nice job there.
Absolutely gorgeous lines from Ella. Caroline the uneven bars. You see there last week only a 9.0, which means she did fall on this event. I believe it was on her big release move coming up.
You can notice when she catches it, it was a little bit far away, so she tried to bring extra power into that swing going into the bail. So a little bit choppy throughout, but I love how she was able to end with that stunt, a double layout.
Let's take another look at this release move.
Huge height. I love how it looks from the side. Just looked a little bit rushed into that bail. So again, this is a gorgeous bar routine. Just a little bit of the timing throughout.
Absolutely. So redemption from last week, no falls here. Hoping to push NC State forward a little bit further. Tara Walsh in the final spot of the lineup for vault. We will have an exhibition from both teams again.
The pressure situation here. She does a 1.5. Wow. What a way to end that lineup with a stick.
Like an exclamation point on the end.
Literally, she was not worried about any pressure there. She said, bring it on. Take another look. She's able to get that all the way around and drops right into that blind landing. That'll be a good score for Clemson again with that 10-0 start.
Justin Howell quite pleased with that one. He's got a great look standing there at the end of the mat. Katie Harper, the anchor for NC State.
Her release move is a ginger. You don't see that too often in college gymnastics.
Similar to Ella, Katie just has such a gorgeous line from hands all the way to her pointed toes.
Very similar between the two. And then that double layout. Again, just drops it in. She's excited about it.
That was an absolutely gorgeous routine. A great way to anchor that Wolfpack lineup.
Notice right here, her feet are together, her legs are together. She separates them right at the end to drop into that landing.
Love the reactions overall. She knows that was good. And gymnastics, coming from such an individualized sport in the club, just takes that team to a whole new level. It's Quinn Cool in the exhibition spot for Clemson. Take another look at that as you see Tara Walsh's score a 9.9. So Clemson closing out vault just shy of that 49 mark, coming in with that 48.975. Emerson Fisk going in the exhibition spot again for the Wolfpack. Getting lots of good exposure here. This is really good for the freshmen as well, just being able to come out and perform in the lights with the crowd, with the judges.
It really puts the athletes in the right mindset early on in the season so that they're prepared for anything, especially once postseason comes into play. That experience really is everything. Nice handstand on top of the bar. And a nice handstand from that blindfold. A little bit slow on that, but is able to end with a nice clean routine there.
So a great closeout from Fisk on the uneven bars. We are at the midway point. Clemson narrowly increases their margin. So you can see between the two, 48.975 to 48.95. So they increase the lead by 0.025. We're going to take a quick break and move to balance beam and floor exercises. You're watching NCAA Gymnastics on ESPN. inside Reynolds Coliseum. Both teams settling into the rhythm here in this dual meet, where Clemson has a narrow edge, about .175 over the Wolfpack team. We're going to take a look back at last year's ACC season between these two teams, along with several others. You can see the season with Cal and Stanford in the conference. Stanford actually won the ACC championship, but 5 out of the 6 teams advanced to the NCAA tournament. And then Cal making big strides. Again, we're so excited to have their coaches with Clemson. Maya Lazan graduated last year, but as it came in as the gymnast of the year and then co-coaches of the year, we had both Justin Howell and Elizabeth Crandall Howell, but also Dana Durante from UNC. So a lot of movement within the ACC conference just overall. Preseason rankings, Stanford coming in, they did make it the furthest out of the ACC teams in the NCAA championship last year. But then between Clemson, Cal, UNC, and NC State, it could almost be a toss-up. This is technically how they ranked in the preseason poll. So Clemson coming in at that number 2 slot and NC State in the number 5 slot. Rotation at number 3 continues after this. You're watching the ACC on ESPN. We're back and ready for rotation number 3 here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Clemson on top of the NC State Wolfpack. NC State now on the balance beam. Clemson moving to the floor. Let's take a look at head coach for NC State, Kim Landris, in her 9th season at the helm of this program. Landris, a ton of accolades underneath her. 2024 ACC champions. NC State winning the ACC as it moved back into the conference prior coming from the Eagle Conference. Coach Landris, a student athlete herself, spent a number of years in some other programs, most notably with Illinois, and then moved to NC State back in 2018, taking over for the prior only head coach that NC State had. So we've got a quick look at the lineups. NC State on the balance beam. Katie Harper anchored on bars and is the leadoff spot for the Wolfpack on balance beam. And then Maggie Holman going to kick things off for the Clemson Tigers on the floor exercise. I am really excited to see Clemson's forward teams. They bring so much energy. I watched their meet from last week against Alabama, and it was just so fun to watch.
I think that's one of the best parts, is watching the new forward teams, all the new choreography.
And some athletes get new routines every year. Some only get them every other year. I think more and more they're going to the every year thing.
I was going to say, I think it's every year for the most part.
For the most part anymore.
Unless you really like your routine and are begging to keep it.
Yes, absolutely. So Katie Harper, again, the leadoff spot on balance beam, such a critical position to be in.
We talk about that leadoff spot, like you said, but it is a very high-pressure situation. You're expected to hit and start your lineup off, and so far, no issues with Katie Harper. She starts with that back handspring, back layout.
Getting that acro series out of the way is always key. That or the full turn.
The full turn that always comes back to haunt you somehow. She does that cat leap into a switch side. She looks really confident up here so far into the front toss. Getting ready for her dismount here. See if she can get a stick. On that topped front falling, she gets it. If I'm Kim Landris, I'm thinking that's who I want to start off my lineup. That was awesome.
Every time. Gotta love Katie in that leadoff spot. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from this routine.
She does that front toss. No issues there. And then into that front full. Again, a blind landing, but is able to come out with the stick.
Love the expression. So excited and just motivating her team. Maggie Holman going to kick things off on floor. You see her average so far already over a 9.8.
The front double full lands short. Looked like that was just a rotation problem. Switch side and do a wolf full for her jumps.
So not the way Clemson wants to get their floor rotation started, especially when they have to end on beam. But again, it puts pressure on those 5 remaining gymnasts to really go out there and hit everything.
Clemson team seems really resilient, so I'm excited to see what they do with the next 5 athletes in their lineup. But to end this floor routine, a nice Rudy to punch back layout there. So again, not ideal to start off, but an uncharacteristic mistake there.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. You said it was a little bit of rotation. We're going to take another look here.
Can see she sets it up and just doesn't quite rotate quick enough. Again, an easy mistake to fix. But obviously, being an athlete, you never want that to happen.
Most definitely. Sanaya Thomas on the beam for the Wolfpack. Again, a 3-event specialist for this team, helping her earn that ACC Specialist of the Week.
Got the full turn over with. Nice front aerial into a back handspring step out for her acro series. That switch leap into that straddle quarter. The judges are looking for that 180-degree split. A nice cat leap into a side aerial. The flow of all of her acro skills is really nice. There's a little bit of form breaks throughout with the flex feet, but ends with a back handspring, gainer, fall off the side. A strong routine for them.
Absolutely, a 9.85 for Thomas last week. I would say that's probably pretty similar. So some high fives all around. Another look at her dismount.
A nice back handspring to set up that gainer full. And is able to hold on to that.
So 2 up, 2 hits for the Wolfpack. Lily Lippiett for Clemson, really trying to get things back on the right foot.
Pressure situation here. I feel like it's pressure with yourself, but also you're wanting to kind of restart that lineup. There's still a bunch of athletes that still need to go, so
absolutely,
it's more than just hitting the routine.
She's been in both meets so far for the Tigers, a 9.825 both times out.
First tumbling pass, a round off, double back. You're allowed to take that lunge on floor. with no deduction. Depending on how big the lunge is.
Yes.
But you're not expected to stick. Really pretty lead combination there. Beautiful toe point.
Having fun with her routine, but you can see in the in between, she is very serious.
A lot of times too, the choreography is very strategic with when you're going faster and slower. But I love that little Sassone jump that she does into her last pass, and she's able to stay in bounds. We need to see another look at that. Nice job getting her team back on track, but again, a really unique last pass for her there.
We'll take a look at her tumbling passes. This huge double back to open.
You can see how she doesn't do a back handspring. It's just a round off straight into the double tuck. That lunge and bit of a slide will be a deduction, but then look at how unique she does the 1.5 into the front full, but before it does a Sassone jump into it. That is not something that we've seen before.
So Volk up on balance beam for the Wolfpack. Went 9.85 last week at Auburn.
I always love to see this angle of balance beam because you just have appreciation for how skinny the beam truly is.
Trying to cram both feet on there when, when one foot takes up the whole beam.
And she opens with a back handspring, back layout. So a triple series, really difficult. Beam is an event where you really just have to be focused throughout. A lot of athletes look really serious. I don't see many smiles on balance beam, but understandably so. There's a smile.
So maybe after a big skill or at the end.
At the end. She does a gainer full off the side, ends with a stick. Another strong routine for the Wolfpack. She did a nice job flowing throughout the routine. She looked confident up there. Again, this triple series is really difficult. She was a bit off. That could have been a bigger wobble. She was able to save it. And then ends with this nice gainer full off of the side.
So a great start for the Wolfpack. Madison Minner on the floor exercise. One of the seniors on this team.
She starts with the front double full there. Has a little too much power, but again, taking a look at that mistake from the first routine, almost want to overdo it a bit. Love that combination, that switch side into a straddle full.
Absolutely gorgeous. Over 180-degree split.
Getting ready for her next pass. That Rudy to back layout. Love the rock and roll choreography throughout as well. What a fun routine to watch.
So 2 hits for Clemson, which again, that is what they're looking for. Lily Lipia, that 9.8. And Madison in the prior 2 competitions, a 9.8 and a 9.825. So looking to keep besting those scores as well.
Let's see that switch side straddle full. And And then last pass, the Rudy has a lot of power on that back layout, but she's able to kind of contain it and not go out of bounds there.
All right, one of the freshmen for NC State. This is Autumn Reardon. We saw her on vault as well.
She does that front toss into the back handspring. No wobble there. I love her artistry throughout. Her toe point, her fingers, her dance. That's something that catches the judge's eye. Switch leap into a gainer pike off the end of the beat. So NC State's got to be feeling good in their lineup. Very consistent. Front toss right into the back handspring. No connection issue there. And then her dismount. I like the height she gets right there. Tiny hop back. But a strong routine.
Absolutely. Only went 9-5 last week against Auburn. So a great performance out of Autumn Reardon for the Wolfpack as we move right back over to the floor. Eve Jackson.
She's a really powerful gymnast. You'll see on her first pass, very difficult here.
You can see her ankles taped up a little bit. She does have a sting mat at the end in the corner as well.
Does that ball out, doesn't even have to grab her legs. I always like to point that out because that's very difficult. You can see her teammates cheering her on the side.
We always talk about how the teammates know the routines just as well as the actual gymnasts competing.
And it is very hard to be at an away meet on an event like floor where you and your teammates are the only ones, you know, into your floor routine or that know what's going on with it.
However, if you look in the audience, there are quite a few orange and purple fans here.
She ends with that front layout, front full. Really dynamic floor routine there.
So Clemson answering the call with the last three, nailing those floor routines.
So notice here the height and how she doesn't even grab her legs, but a little bit short on that. So she'll have a slight deduction maybe for the chest down or the step forwards.
Addison Tackett for the Wolfpack on beam. Another one of the newcomers for this Wolfpack team went 9-7-5 last week.
Nice front aerial. Series of back handspring, back layout. Little bobble on that leap combination there. for her dismount here. She does that back handspring into the 1.5. I really liked how just in the zone and focus she looked throughout that routine. It's
The
like
entire routine.
No matter what. And you could see it in her face. She had a couple of bobbles throughout, but you can see right there, she holds on. And then her dismount here, the back handspring sets up for that 1.5. There were a couple form breaks throughout. I'd love to see, you know, the straight legs and pointed toes if we're being picky.
Absolutely, but for a freshman coming out competing the first 2 meets of the season, A+ for Addison. As we move back over to floor, Tara Walsh. Got Tara Walsh, and then you can see Bree Clark in the final 2 spots, 2 of their top performers on this event. Both can score really big.
First tumbling pass, front full, into a front full. Beautifully done. You can see how extended she was on that front full. There were no pike downs. Ready for her last pass here. She does a front Rudy, actually sticks it. So a nice way to end that floor routine.
Fantastic job by Walsh for the Clemson Tigers. Last week put up a 9.875.
Notice how on that front full, again, her body was completely extended. She actually had height and punch. It's really rare that you see the second skill lift and go higher, but she did a nice job at that.
And in the final anchor spot for this Wolfpack team, this is Meg Adler. Really stepping into one of these leadership positions on this team, especially with so many gymnasts having graduated last year.
She starts with a really pretty back handspring, back layout. Straddle quarter there. A little bit off on that side aerial. That'll be her biggest deduction so far, but nice job still staying on. Cat leap into switch side. One thing to be aware of is all of these connections and making sure that you're getting them. I feel like NC State has done a nice job. That gainer dismount, you can see she landed a little bit short.
A couple little foot movements there, so it'll be interesting what the judges do with that.
See right here, that side aerial, she was crooked on that, so really difficult. And then that gainer off the side does have a little shift in the feet, so I'm not sure what the judges will do with that.
Absolutely. But we're going to move right over to floor. Bree Clark.
What a fun routine to watch. Talk about power. You'll see it here. Huge double layout. Wow. I love the control she had throughout that entire pass.
We talked about some of the athletes having a more serious facial expression, and Bree is the complete opposite.
I know, it's making making me smile over here just watching her.
Has not scored below a 9-9 yet this season.
We'll see if she can keep it going. A front layout into a front vault, into a front tuck. I think she got higher on
Yes.
skill. Oh my goodness, and the height she has just on her jumps.
So much power.
Insane. What a
So
fun
much
routine to
power.
watch.
The Tigers are all excited about that one. They want a 10.
Chanting 10. We'll take another look here. I mean, credit to the double layout, but again, you have to shine some light on how difficult it is to go one skill, then higher on the second skill, then even more height on the third.
Absolutely, just a phenomenal routine out of Clark on that one. We've got a couple of exhibitions for both teams. Maddie Hall up for the Wolfpack. And this is an exhibition spot, so this score will not hurt the team, it will not help the team. You can see Meg Adler coming in with that 9.575, which is some of those execution errors. Her score is the one they're going to drop and end at a 48.8 for their overall beam score.
This routine from Maddie so far has been gorgeous. Just her lines, her extension, all the way through her toe point. Just the confidence that she's showing throughout. Gainer full off the side, into the stick.
Love the routine from Maddie. Definitely fighting for that spot in the lineup.
Absolutely.
So that concludes NC State on rotation at number 3. You see again, their beam score just shy of that 49, and a 49 average on each event is that 196, which all of these teams are looking at achieving, if not better. With so many scores playing into their overall national qualifying score, every little detail counts. Bree Clark, you see there, a 9.925, so ties what she had last week, as we have Sierra Church in the exhibition spot.
Bree's floor routine is definitely a highlight of this rotation, so well deserved. Another round off, double tuck, again with a ton of height. She's really working this routine. I love the facial expression.
Absolutely. So a super, super fun routine out of Sierra Church. We're getting closer and closer to the finish here in Reynolds Coliseum. NC State's got some makeup work to do. You can see they're about 4/10 behind of the Clemson Tigers, who ended up with a 49.1 thanks to Bree Clark throwing up some huge numbers there at the end. One rotation to go. It's still anyone's meet because Clemson does have to finish on the balance beam. Don't go anywhere. The final rotation coming up next. Welcome back inside Reynolds Coliseum. We've got rotation number 4 coming up between Clemson and NC State in women's NCAA gymnastics. Clemson's got the lead right now by a little over 4/10. And this meet matters. We used to say at the beginning of the season that these were warm-up meets, and the scores didn't really count until much later on. But Sydney, let's talk a little bit about this new NQS breakdown.
You can see the updates for this year. Minimum of 9 meets. At least 5 have to be away, 5 have to be at home. Again, we're still dropping the highest and the lowest, but that just shows you how important every single meet is. There's really a lot less room for error. And you can tell throughout, you know, when talking to the coaches, how that is a difference. That is something that's talked about amongst the team, amongst the athletes, how that might look a little bit differently or feel differently throughout the year.
Absolutely. All of those away meets count. So Clemson, regardless of what they do today, this one counts. NC State, you've got to count the home meet too, so you cannot let anything up. All right, again, rotation number 4, the final event coming up. NC State will close out on the floor. Don't go anywhere. Lead inside Reynolds Coliseum. They are edging out NC State right now by .425. Don't go anywhere. Rotation number 4 coming up. Coming right up, Clemson's got the lead over NC State, 147.25 to 146.825. Let's take a look at how we got to these scores. But Sydney, first, just talk about the overall meet and what we've seen.
I mean, the arena is so energetic right now. Each rotation is just getting better and better. We've seen some standout routines. We're going to see some more on this last event, so I'm really excited.
Absolutely. A couple mistakes here and there from both teams, but both able to pick everything up. Clemson, how did we get to them being in the lead?
We saw Tara Walsh stick an amazing 1.5 on vault to start them out. Then moving on to bars, Alice Cesario with a gorgeous routine as well. And then finishing on the 3rd rotation, Bree Clark, the most powerful athlete we have seen today so far. Just absolutely stunning routine.
And for the Wolfpack, this is stick from Maddie Hall to get things started on vault. Ellie Hadrick, a absolutely gorgeous bar routine and nails the landing. No movement there. Sanaya Thompson, ACC Gymnast of the Week, and it shows right here on the balance beam. Quick overall look at the meet summary. Clemson has led the entire way and increased their margin after each rotation, but they do have to end on balance beam, and NC State has the opportunity to bring some of that back with their routines on the floor exercise. Take a look at the lineups here. Meg Adler is going to kick things off for the Wolfpack on floor, and they've got a slate of really strong performances. Over on the balance beam, Tara Walsh, who we just saw with that amazing vault, anchored by Quinn Cool in the 6th spot for the Clemson Tiger beam team. The Tigers getting some last words of advice for their beam team.
It's always hard to end on beam. We always call it that make or break event. So I'm really excited to see how they handle this pressure of being not only, again, at an away meet, but also ending on a really tough event.
So Tara Walsh, again, going to be kicking us off on balance beam. Just getting some last-minute words of encouragement. Went 9.875 last week on this event. Or sorry, 9.85 on beam.
Nice deep breath before she mounts the beam. different zone.
Absolutely, and you need to be, especially in this leadoff spot, really wanting to set the stage.
The front toss into that beat jump. So far, a really solid routine. All she has left here is her dismount. Round off 1.5. Nails that stick. We saw NC State come out with a strong leadoff routine, and we just saw Clemson do the same thing.
Clemson looking to build on their lead. Looking at all of these away scores are counting, so wanting to make sure that they get the highest score they possibly can.
A round off 1.5 dismount. One of my favorite parts of this routine, just how she absolutely nails the landing there.
So Meg Adler going to kick things off for the Wolfpack on the floor.
Her first tumbling pass. Oh, Rudy into the shallow jump. She spun really fast so that she was able to break out of that and bounce that shallow jump in place so that she had control of that landing.
Some of these gymnasts that tumble frontwards from the diagonals, they'll throw in a back tuck or a round off layout step out because they do have to have one backwards flipping skill.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more of that in collegiate gymnastics. Last pass here, a front full into the front tuck. Another rotation issue. Just couldn't quite get that punch after the front fall. So we're seeing a repeat of what happened with Clemson now happening to NC State.
Yep, a fall from that leadoff spot, but Clemson able to build those floor routines. We'll take a look at this fall right here on the last pass. Just didn't quite get the right bounce.
She does that front full and just, it's that punch. Gymnastics is all about the timing, and the timing can make such a big difference in each skill. She unfortunately just didn't have it right there.
So back over to the balance beam, Bree Clark.
Opens with a standing front tuck, and she makes it look easy, but I can assure you that that is not.
So difficult.
Back handspring, back layout. We've seen all of her power on all these other events. It's really hard to control that on an event like beam, but she does such a great job. Chance to show off her height on those jumps right there. Her dismount. A front Rudy off the end of the beam. She just jumps and spins so fast and then drops out of the landing. It's just so effortless.
So a great routine out of Bree Clark. Had some trouble with beam last week, only going 9.375. Not a repeat this week.
Notice right there just how easy she makes it look to spin right off.
Effortless. Effortless. So a strong routine. The Tigers are 2 for 2 on their final rotation. Jenna Rusk on the floor, really hoping to pick things back up. Again, an unfortunate fall out of Adler. Waiting a little bit just for the score here.
This is an important routine, like we've talked about, to kind of reset the rest of the lineup. The good news for them is they're in their home arena, their home crowd. There's a lot of yelling, a lot of cheering going on.
They can definitely get the crowd behind them, but they need to go 5 for 5 with these remaining routines.
Floor exercise is one of those where you're so amped up and you have adrenaline. You've got to be able to control it in the air and on your landings. You don't want to do too much. First tumbling pass. It's a double pike. Can't tell if they raise a flag for her going out of bounds. Tumbling pass, front layout, front fall. No issues there. That's a nice switch ring. The leap and jump combinations are just as important as the acro tumbling floor, but nice job. She ends with a hit routine.
So again, NC State looking to build those scores after Meg Adler only puts up a 9.0. So great job out of Jenna Rusk on the floor exercise for the Wolfpack team. Hannah Clark is going to be up next for the Tigers on beam. See her average there so far this season, a 9.75. 2 scores in the 9.7s coming in for Clemson so far.
A nice front toss in the pike position into the back handspring. So far, this Clemson beam lineup, you can feel the confidence that they have, and I feel like that's hard to do on the road. She has a split ring there too, which is a difficult skill. Throwing your head backwards on beam is never easy.
And they've actually got a slight advantage. This is their 3rd weekend competing. They went out of the gate that January 4th weekend when most teams actually took it off and just started last weekend. NC State, this is only their 2nd meet, so they've got a little more practice in getting some of those preseason jitters out of the way.
Yeah, that is a good call out. Round off 1.5. It looked like her foot slipped.
It did.
And wow, what a nice job just staying in control. I think she knows it too, but you know, the judges might not have even been able to tell from the side. They obviously have different angles than we do. Yeah. But a really good save. You can see right here her foot
off the end of the beam.
But she's able to hold on to it again. That'll be a deduction on the landing, but it's better than any type of fall.
Absolutely. Emerson Fisk for the Wolfpack. Again, we've seen her in the exhibition spot a couple of times already. But in the floor lineup went 9.825 in her debut.
She starts out with a double pike. Pretty much stuck it. I don't even know if she needed that lunge. She looks like she's having fun out there. That's always nice to see. 1.5. Front layout.
The team is excited behind her.
I was gonna say, and the crowd goes crazy. Another strong hit for the Wolfpack.
Coach Landris said this team, the word that she would use to describe them is loud, and I am feeling it.
She did say that, and I really love that. I remember saying to her, I love that word. You know, you don't hear that too often, but she was like, oh my gosh, they're just so loud.
They're loud, they're loud, they're energetic, and they bring it every week.
Almost looked too like she could have buckled her knees and missed that punch, but that just speaks to the strength that these athletes have. She was able to pull it out.
Lily Lippiett now on the beam for the Tigers. You can see a 9.675 from Hannah Clark. Some execution errors on that dismount.
A front aerial into a round off for that series. Also a unique combination there that you don't see often.
Such focus, especially with the crowd chanting Wolfpack behind her.
Just has her dismount left. Round off 1.5. And she held on to that stick. Pretty routine for Clemson.
So 4 up, 4 hits so far out of the Tiger team.
You can see that round off is a difficult skill to stay on the beam for.
And a actual slight bobble kind of in between. It'll be curious to see what the judges do. Maybe take a small rhythm deduction. Got Autumn Reardon on floor. So 2 freshmen back-to-back for this Wolfpack team.
First tumbling pass. Wow, front layout into a Rudy, into that split jump. Great height on that jump. Goes into all the choreography that these gymnasts are doing. Her last pass, round up 1.5, front layout. So again, another hit for the Wolfpack.
Back-to-back again, looking at replacing the score from Adler in that leadoff spot. They've got 2 left. 2 more chances for that replacement. A great job from Reardon.
Take another look here. That round off 1.5. She's able to punch into the front layout.
What a fun routine for this team. Ella Cesario now on beam.
This is going to be a beautiful routine. Ella is just so graceful with her gymnastics and her dance.
She went 9-9 last last week, so definitely capable of putting up some big scores. The Tigers need it with a trio of 9 7 pluses.
Bring that layout, just floated in the air. Switch split into that split jump combination there. See if she can stick this dismount, round off 1.5.
So close.
Had to take that small step backwards.
So close. Such a gorgeous routine, and then just the dismount here.
Right there, nice height, nice form. She knew she almost had it too.
She did. That face gives it all away. So close to the stick out of Cesario. Ellie Hadrick on floor. You see last week a 9.875. The Wolfpack going to 3 9.8 pluses so far. Looking for 2 more. And again, they've got over 4 tenths to make up if they're going to try to take the win tonight.
She has the potential for a high score here. Front layout into the Rudy. I like the height she got on that second skill.
Just a fantastic job. Again, trying to best last week's score of that 9.875. We'll take another look at that last tumbling pass.
Like I said, I love the height. Look how high on the 1.5, and she's ready for that punch here. Her whole body is just floating through the air in that straight laid out position.
Just absolutely gorgeous. So far, the Wolfpack needed 5 hit routines. They are at 4 with 1 more to go. Quinn Cool is in the anchor spot for the Clemson Tigers on balance beam. And it looks like Ellie may have definitely a new season high. I'll be curious. I'll have to look up if that's a new career high as well. A 9.9 on floor.
Well deserved from that routine. Let's take another look at her first pass here. You can see she punched front layout and then got even more height on that Rudy. She did such a good job setting herself up. Her chest was up, her rotation, which led to that controlled landing, and which led to that 9.9 score.
Absolutely, and it looks like that ties her career best, that 9.9. So phenomenal job. I imagine she'll go above that this year.
Yeah, and to start that out so early on in the season, that's got to give her so much confidence as an athlete as well.
The judges having a quick conference on Ella Cesario's beam score. So what happens when this takes place is the judges have to be within a certain range. It's typically 2/10, and anything outside of that, if their spread is too far, they've got to come together to conference. Sydney, any additional details on what these judges are talking about?
No, typically it is just if they see, if there's a discrepancy with the start value. So maybe there wasn't a combination or someone saw something that the other one didn't. But one thing to point out is for Quinn, this is a very tough position to be in. You're last up on beam, you're at an away meet, you're coming after a 9-9 floor routine from the opposing team. So again, a high pressure situation, it can play a mental mind game with you. So a great opportunity for Quinn here.
So far, 2 hit beam routines this season. You saw that average so far at 9.862.
And she's going to start with a triple series right here. That handspring back layout. Floats it right in. This is such a close meet. You can feel the tension here in the arena. It's so exciting.
Absolutely.
It's like every routine back to back here. Has the dismount left, round off 1.5, small hop forward, but is able to get the hit and close out that lineup for Clemson.
Absolutely, and again, after waiting so long, waiting on Ella's score to come in, just a hit routine overall. A small hop on the landing is okay.
Yeah, you have round off 1.5, she brings it out for the landing. Again, just a small hop forward.
The cheering in the background is all for Sanaya Thomas on floor. A huge score, that 9.925 last week. And this one is just so fun to watch. Talk about serious as well. The opposite of Brie Clark's final routine.
I love how everyone's just doing it on the side. First tumbling pass. Huge double pike. Sky high. Nice switch side into a straddle fall.
Very unique. 3 tumbling passes.
That was going to be my call out. 3 tumbling passes. That's impressive in itself. Round of 1.5 to end this routine. I would say that's an exclamation point for this team.
And we'll wait for the smile.
And the crowd goes crazy. It is loud in here.
Absolutely. She is so serious throughout that entire routine, and as soon as she salutes the judge, you get the biggest smile on her face.
There's a serious confidence. You could feel and just see her confidence in her dance, in her tumbling, even in her jumps here. Look at the height. She's able to execute in all areas of her floor routine, but ends it with that 1.5 front layout.
So some exhibitions out of both teams. This is Sierra Church for the Tigers. Sierra also exhibitioned on floor.
with the back handspring back layout. Might have been looking to connect it to a jump.
You see Sanaya on the left of your screen. Her score just came in at 9.9.
When she found out about her 9.9.
So much fun, excited about that routine. The team having a blast as well. It puts NC State at a 49.3 overall, and NC State may take the win on this meet. But we're not done yet. Caroline Volk in the exhibition spot for the Wolfpack.
The really big double pike. Notice how she popped up really quick. Her chest was a little low and she was able to cover that well. Didn't quite get that leap series all the way around. So the judges may take a deduction on that. Nice 1.5 front layout. So nice to be able to have just exhibition routines and have this stacked lineup where people can go in and out of it, depending.
Absolutely. So a fantastic finish for the Wolfpack. Caroline Volk, again, finishing up in that exhibition spot for the NC State Wolfpack. And that does it. That's the end of rotation number 4. Sydney, final thoughts tonight. That was a really fun meet, and we've talked about it. It comes down to the wire, and this just proved it. NC State came down to the wire.
Absolutely. The word that comes to mind is just confidence. I think both teams showed so much confidence throughout each event, throughout the entire meet. They both ended so well on such a high that that's going to really propel them into the upcoming competitions.
Absolutely. So much fun tonight. Don't go anywhere. We're going to step aside for just a moment. We'll come back with an interview with head coach Kim Landris. The final score here tonight in Reynolds Coliseum. NC State pulls out the win on the final rotation. A huge 49-3 on floor to go 196-125 over ACC foe 195-825. We are joined tableside by head coach Kim Landris. And first of all, just let me say congratulations on pulling out the win. What are your overall thoughts right now?
I am just so proud of the team. Way to be gritty today. We went into floor last event a few tenths behind, and we needed to have a lights out performance. And after our first mishap, I mean, those next 5 came back with a lights out performance.
They absolutely did.
That was going to be my question. Outstanding floor performance after a mistake in the first spot. What did you tell your team heading into floor?
just carry the momentum. We had a great beam rotation, maybe had a few tens here or there, but just carry that momentum to floor. Floor is a strength for us, and so just go and do you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so leading into next week, what are we going back to the gym to work on?
I mean, I still think we have to work on those details, those landings. We can do better with the landings for sure, and just tightening up. I think they overall went out and did a lot of what we perform every day in the gym, but they got to just do themselves and make sure they carry everything that we do into the gym into the arena.
Absolutely. Well, we'll let you get back to your team to celebrate. Congratulations again on the win tonight.
All right, go Pack.
For Sydney Sneed and myself and the entire ACC Network crew, I'm Rachel Garland saying so long from Raleigh. Stay tuned for the award ceremony and final scores coming right up.
And now, fans, it's time for tonight's final results. Here are our top finishers. In the vault, with a final score of 9.90 from Clemson, Tara Wolf. On the uneven bars, with a final score of 9.875, we have a tie from NC State, Ellie Hattrick. From Clemson, Ella Cesario. Now on to the balance beam. We have a tie with a final score of 9.80 from NC State, Sanaya Thomas. And from Clemson, Bree Clark. On the floor exercise, with a final score of 9.925 from Clemson, Bree Clark. And now for tonight's team results. In second place with a final score of 195.925, Clemson University. And in first place with a final score of 196.125, your NC State Wolfpack. And now, fans, on behalf of NC State Athletics, we'd like to thank you for attending today's meet and cheering on your Wolfpack Gymnastics team. We wish you a great evening. Don't forget, we'll see you right back here in Reynolds Coliseum on Sunday, February 8th. Please drive home safely, and as always, go Wolfpack!